All right, blessings, blessings. So good to see everyone today. Guys, go ahead and put a one in the chat if you can hear me. If you can hear me, put a one in the chat. If you can hear me, put a one in the chat. We are doing something new a little bit today. All right, blessings, blessings. So good to see everyone. You can go ahead and put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Blessings to you. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. So good to have you all here today on this beautiful Lord, today we're grateful to Yah for this opportunity. Guys, go ahead and thumb up the video, share the live, and then if you can, put a one in the chat if you can hear me fine. If you can hear me fine, thank you, Sister Jessica. How are you? Blessings to you and your family too. Tell the young men I said hello. Blessings. Blessings. Guys, I'm trying a new format instead of sharing on uh, StreamYard, which was a little bit too expensive. We decided to go with uh, Zoom. And so because I'm not used to this format, sharing live like this, I wanted to make sure that everyone can hear me, everyone can see me. You can see the lesson clear. Um, and I'm trying to figure out, can I move this day? Okay. All right. So we're still good. We're still good, everyone. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, go ahead and thumb up the video. Thumb up the video, guys, and share the live. Thumb up the video and share the live. We're going to get started in just a second here, right? Thumb up the video and share the live. I just want to make sure everything that I am doing here is working properly, right? And I believe it is. All right. So once again, welcome to Beit Emunat Torah, the house of Torah faith. And guys, we are going to dive into the word of Yah this morning. And I hope that you're ready. I hope that you're prepared. As we looked at on Tuesday night, we looked at a very interesting topic. You can see it here on your screen. Guys, go ahead and take notes on this is part 2. And then turn with me in your Bibles to the book of Mark. Mark chapter 8. Mark chapter 8. And we're going to, guys, we're going to go all in today. I'm excited. I'm excited about uh, what Yah has been revealing, and I'm grateful uh, that we have an opportunity to share the word. Now, this is going to be very interesting when in StreamYard, I was able to share just by clicking one button on a tab. In, let's see. I wonder if they give me the option here. Let me see. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is going to be interesting going back and forth between my screens. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I think I'm going to have to stop sharing on this particular. Actually, you know what? Let me try something. What screen is being shared right now? Okay. So I am going to have to stop it. All right. And then reshare. All right. So let's see here. Yeah, this is one of the advantages um, of using StreamYard. And yeah. Yeah. So one of the advantages is that you don't have to stop sharing, then resharing, unless I just don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, Mark chapter 8, and we're going to drop down to verse 27. All right, let's go to verse 27. And we're going to get it in today, y'all. Can you guys see the screen with the verses on it? Again, I'm not sure if you guys are able to see that. If you can go ahead and put a one in the chat if you can see the screen with the verses. On my screen, it's Let's see. Again, I'm not sure. Okay, I think you guys can see it. So, all right, here we go. We're in Mark chapter 8, and we're going to drop down to verse 27. The word of God reads, "And Jesus went out and his disciples into the towns of Caesarea Philippi. And by the way, he asked his disciples, saying unto them, Whom do men say that I am? And they said unto him, Well, John the Baptist, some say Elias, and others one of the prophets. And he said unto them, unto his disciples, he saith unto them, But whom do you say that I am? Whom do you say that I am? And Peter asketh, or answereth, and saith unto him, Thou art the Christ, or you are the Messiah, or the Mashiach. You are the one that has been prophesied in our scriptures, in the Tanakh. You are the one that has been prophesied in the book of Genesis. You are the one that's been prophesied in the book of Exodus, in the book of Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. You are the Mashiach. You are the one that's been prophesied all the way from the book of Joshua to the book of Malachi. You're the Mashiach we've been waiting on, is what Peter said. Peter said, in essence, you are the fulfillment of the Tanakh scriptures that Brother Luke, actually Luke tells us this. Luke, let me go here real quick. Luke, and this is very interesting to me. Luke 24, and we're going to go to verse 27 here. Luke says this, quoting Yeshua, he says, Luke 24 and 27, in the beginning of Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures, in Moses, the Torah, and the prophets, put those together, and we call those the Tanakh. He says, in all the scriptures, he expounded unto them the things concerning himself. Okay? So Peter here in Mark 8 and 27, when he says that you are the Messiah, thou art the Messiah, he's saying, hey, we know the scriptures. We know that they've been prophesying about you, and you are the one that's been prophesied about. All right. So, guys, today I want to continue to talk about who do men say that I am? Who do men say that I am? All right. And so that was a question that Yeshua asked Peter. And last week on Tuesday, we went over various aspects of this lesson. And today we're gonna continue. We're gonna continue looking at this. So, guys, I pray your patience. I pray that you guys will follow along. I pray that you have your notes. You're going to need your notes today, guys, because we're going to go into some serious study of the word of Yah. All right, guys, do me a favor, thumb up the video, and share the live. Thank you for those of you who thumbed up the video, guys. Guys, go ahead and share this on your YouTube page. Share it on your Facebook, your Instagram. Go ahead and share it in every place that you have social media. Fair use. We definitely want to share this disclaimer, fair use, under the copyright laws of 1976. It allows for fair use. That means that we can use information, that we can use various sources for the purposes of teaching, comment, research, scholarship, teaching, understanding. And on top of that, we have the First Amendment right to freedom of speech and the freedom of religion. And so we are sharing all of the information here today. We are not infringing on in any way infringing upon any copyrighted materials, because it is for the purposes of growth and learning and criticism of scholarship, for the purpose of teaching and learning. All right. So now that we've Now that we've gotten that out of the way, all right. Last week on Tuesday, guys, we dealt with a lot of different things concerning this idea of who do men say that Yeshua is, not just in his day, but even in our day today. Who do our friends say that Yeshua is? Who do our parents, who do our grandparents, who do our co-workers, who do our neighbors that are living next door to us that we're so cordial with every day? The question is, and it boils down to, who do they say that I am? And then most importantly, he even asked Peter, he says, well, who do you think that I am? And you know, that is really the bottom line. That is the bottom line. It matters what your neighbors say. Yes, it matters. It matters what your friends and family. But the question ultimately boils down to, who do you, as an individual, say that Yeshua is? And so this question that Yeshua poses in Mark 8:27, who do people say that I am? It's pivotal, as we said on Tuesday. It's a pivotal moment in the ministry of Yeshua, and it reveals. Watch this, y'all. It reveals. Yeshua knew this. He knew that this question would reveal the confusion surrounding his identity, and what we intend to do is we intend to look at the significant passages in the book of Mark, and we're going to go chapter by chapter to reveal who the Messiah really is. And so this confusion that is surrounding the identity of Yeshua is really over one thing. It really has to do with his divine nature. And this is an age-old question. This is why Yeshua asks, who do men say that I am? And so we're going to take a look at that today, guys. I cannot wait to get into this. And so Yeshua asked this question to confront, again, this widespread confusion about his identity, and to lead his disciples towards a Torah-based understanding of who he is. The differing opinions about him, about Yeshua, reflect the complexity of the messianic expectations of his time. There were people, guys, during the time of Yeshua that had messianic expectations. They knew the prophecies. They knew and understood all the scriptures referring to this Messiah. And so there was some complexity. There was some confusion. And I really want to deal, though, with the spiritual blindness. That there is a blindness that has come upon people when they cannot recognize who the Messiah is. And now watch this. This is not just for unbelievers, but there is a spiritual blindness for believers as well. However, in this series, the scriptures will show and prove that the Messiah is divine. Are y'all ready for that? That's my claim. That's my claim, and we're going to intend to prove that today. And so last week we looked at the Gentile and the Roman view of Yeshua. We looked at the Gentile and we looked at the Roman view of Yeshua. And one of the things that we recognized was, give me a second. We looked at one of the things that we recognized. Hopefully you guys are seeing me share this. That's why with a new system, it's pretty interesting. Nice. There we go. Okay. So one of the things that we recognized was that the Gentile and the Roman view of Yeshua and his believers. Who remembers what we said on Tuesday? Who remembers what we said on Tuesday about the Gentile and the Roman view of Yeshua? Remember, we shared these two sources. We shared Cornelius Tacitus. Remember Tacitus? We shared his view. Now, see, here's the problem, guys. Here's the problem. And many people who study the scriptures, what they attempt to do, and their hearts are in the right place, but what they attempt to do is give us this understanding of the first century, but they don't use the sources that are relevant to that century. Okay, we don't want to use secondary sources, which it's no problem using a secondary source, but we have access to primary sources. Now, what does that mean? That means that we can read documents from the time of Yeshua to get a grasp of the culture. We can get a grasp of the understanding of the times that we're referring to. And so last week we talked about these two references. One was from a historian called Cornelius Tacitus. He lived from 56 to 120 AD, which is in the time of Yeshua. And I'm going to give you guys the source here. And in this source, you guys, let me put that in. Let's see, where can I put that? I'm going to put this in the chat in our, yeah, there it is right there for you. Guys, I recommend that you go to this, copy this link, go here, because in this particular source, I'm not going to go to it. I went to it on Tuesday, but in this source, one of the earliest Gentile references to Israelites and Yeshua was they believed that they were practicing a religious practice called superstition. All right. And that was the view of Yeshua. That was the view of his believers, that they were superstitious. And this view carries with it the idea that the Messiah is some sort of magician or he practices dark magic. And so during this time, the Romans welcomed, no, they didn't reject it. They welcomed this God into their pantheon. He was just one more of the gods into their pantheon. However, they looked at it a little bit suspicious because it was new to them. It was new to them. All right. Not knowing that this was not a new faith. Again, as we said earlier, Yeshua is the fulfillment of prophecies that go all the way back to the beginning of time, to the beginning of Adam and Eve, right? And then we have the other reference, which is Pliny the Younger. And Pliny the Younger was a Roman governor. So not only do we have a historian's view, but we have a high political practitioner, this person who is in the office of making sure that he provides, watch this now, he was a governor. He had to make sure that he provided accurate information to the emperor, to the Caesar. And so, based on his position, based on his authority, we have Pliny the Elder's testimony of who Yeshua and his disciples were. And I just put that second link in the chat. And I gave you guys here the references right here. You guys can copy them down. Tacitus, the Annals, 1544. And then Pliny the Younger's letters, letter 10.96. And so I gave you those. And so even Pliny's understanding of who Yeshua was is that he was a Messiah or a God, or I should say one of the gods that was in line of the gods of the Roman pantheon. Okay, that was their interpretation. So you have one view is that Yeshua and his disciples were superstitious and they practiced a superstition coming from this dark side or dark magic. And then you have a governor who says that they were just one of the gods. They served one of the gods in their pantheon. All right. So we're going to definitely look at that. The Roman and Gentile world often interpreted divine figures through their own mythological lens, viewing Yeshua as a prophet, magician, or a deity in human form. And guys, you know what? This is similar to what we do today. We look at the scriptures, we look at who Yeshua is through our own lens instead of looking at it through the lens of the scriptures, and particularly the lens of what is called the Old Testament, all right, or the Tanakh. We don't use the Tanakh. Many people in Christian churches today, guys, one of the reasons why they have a misconception or not a biblical understanding of who the Messiah or who Yeshua is because they only use the New Testament, which is fine, but it's not sufficient. Come on and go with me here. Now, what we do as Hebrew Israelites, come on and go, yes, we are Hebrew Israelites, but watch this. We're not the Hebrew Israelites you see on the corner. Come on and go with me. We're not going to allow them to hijack the biblical name and then misrepresent a Torah-based faith. No, we are Hebrew Israelites, but we are representing a Torah-based faith. We're not, listen, many in the church today, guys, I want to say this. Many people in the church today are practicing Marxism. When you bring race and civil, I'm going to go here and I'm going to offend some people, but so be it. When you bring race and civil rights into the gospel, what you are doing, and see, many people don't even understand the philosophical approach that Martin Luther King, that and they were great men, Malcolm X, but many people don't understand the philosophical approach that they took. And most of the civil rights movement, their philosophical foundation, some people say, well, yeah, wasn't it the Bible? Let me say this. Yes, it was the Bible, but it was mixed. Come on and go with me here. There was a syncretism that King, that X, that many other civil rights leaders, they mixed a philosophy, a worldly philosophy, with the scriptures. We got to understand that, guys. Let's put on our big boy boots, our big girl boots, and say, listen, we need to stomp in truth. We need to walk in truth, and we need to understand historically what has happened to the faith. All right. And so this is not a knock. This is not tearing down Martin Luther King as a person or Malcolm X as a person. They were brilliant. We're not dealing with that. What we're dealing with is the pure Torah truth. And if the truth be told, there was a mixture of Marxism and scriptures. And many people today are doing that. When you bring race relations to divide and to use that as a platform to emotionally attach the word of Yah to, in order to make your case for why a person should believe in Yeshua, are y'all with me? What you're doing is you're engaged in syncretism, which is no longer a Torah-based faith, but it is a Christianity which is foreign to the scriptures. Come on and go with me here. You will never see in the scriptures from Genesis to the book of Revelation, you will never see the oppressed Israelites voting. I'm stepping on some toes this morning. You'll never see, although they were oppressed, they were smitten, they were suffering persecution, they never once appealed to the Roman governor or Caesar for civil rights. Didn't do it. Why? Because they trusted watch this, they trusted in the Most High instead of what men could do to give them their freedom. All right. I had to say that. And I pray, that you will go back and study and understand. Now, I did a series on this. If you go back into the catalog, into the library, and you look at my series, I would say close to November, somewhere around there, I believe that I destroyed the idea of voting. Yeah. Now, some people are going to do what they want to do, but that's fine. But biblically, we demolished it. All right. Now, let's get back to the matter at hand. The Synoptic Gospels. The Synoptic Gospels, which are the first three Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And the reason why they are called the Synoptic Gospels is because the word synoptic means to see together. Okay. And so you have these three witnesses. You have Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and they were witnessing the same exact events. However, their reporting on those events are slightly different. All right. And so we're going to look at that today. We're going to get more into the synoptics, but not today. All right. And so what you see here is basically this view, this Roman and Gentile view of Yeshua. And so we look in Matthew chapter 14, Mark chapter 6, and Luke chapter 9, and we see Herod giving us his testimony and basically answering Yeshua's question without Yeshua even asking Herod the question. All right. And so we discovered what people's thoughts were about Yeshua. So we have Herod. And if you go ahead, I'm not going to go over this. I went over this on Tuesday. But guys, go ahead and take a picture or highlight this, do something. Take a picture with your phone. If you want this presentation, guys, just email me asking for it. I will send it to you. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on. But this is basically Herod's view in each of the synoptic gospels, validating the question that was asked to Peter, who do men say that I am? Well, here we have Herod, one of the political leaders of the Roman Empire, giving his view, all right, in Matthew, Mark, and in Luke, okay? Peter's confession in Mark 8, 27 and 28. And you have his confession, guys, in all three of these synoptic gospels. You have it in Mark 8, Matthew 16, and Luke chapter 9. Right? So let's take a look at it. Okay, I laid it out for you nice and neat. So you have the setting here. You have the first question of Yeshua, who do people or men say that I am? And then you have his second question down here, who do you say? But what about you? What do you say? All right. And then you have Peter's first answer over here. Some say John the Baptist, Elijah, still others say Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. Okay. And then the second question is what we're going to deal with. But who do you say that I am? Peter says this. I want you to see in this, let's see, 1, 2, 3, in this fourth column here, fourth row, I should say, Peter's confession in the fourth row. You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. In Mark, he says, you are the Messiah. And then in Luke, notice what he said, you are Yah's Messiah. Very interesting comments, but here's the question I want to ask you guys. What did the people who heard this response, what did the rest of the disciples, because he's talking to Peter, what did Peter hear? What did the rest of the disciples hear and understand? And then most importantly, what did Yeshua hear and understand Peter saying? Well, you have in this last column, the response of Yeshua. In Matthew, you have Yeshua, it says here in this bottom column to the left, Yeshua blessed Peter. All right, he blessed him. And then he says this, watch this. For this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. So watch this. The words that Peter spoke, this is deep, you guys. The words that Peter spoke, Yeshua validates and recognizes that those words didn't come from Peter. Come on and go with me here. But they came from the Father. Now, the question ultimately is, what did Peter's words actually mean? What does it mean to be the Messiah, the Son of the living God, or the Messiah, or God's Messiah, as Luke puts it? What does that really entail when we talk about, watch this, when we talk about Peter's understanding of the prophecies that are in his scriptures? Come on and go with me here, guys, because it was the scriptures that shaped Peter's response. And let me suggest to you guys, whenever we're asked a reason for the hope that lies within us, it has to be the scriptures that shape our responses, not our emotions, not how we will. I feel, no, not how I feel, but what does thus saith the Lord in the Tanakh? Oh, come on and go with me here. Come on and go with me. And so this is what we're going to do today, guys. We're going to take a bird's eye view of what does the Tanakh say about who Yeshua really is? What informed Peter's understanding? Well, of course, it was the Tanakh, but what does the Tanakh say? And so that's what we're going to look at. Are you guys ready? We're going to look at that today. So knowing what you believe is essential, but knowing what others believe is fundamental. Now, what do I mean by that? Why am I saying that? Because the question was asked to Peter, who do others say that I am? Peter knew what he believed, but guess what? He also knew what others believed. Now, why is it important to know what others believe? Guys, it's so important and it's crucial so that you can know how and how much of the gospel to share. Come on and go with me here. You have to know what the Muslim believes. You have to know what the Mormon believes. You have to know what the radical Hebrew Israelite believes. Listen, Paul said this in Romans 10 about his Hebrew Israelite brothers. You know what he said in Romans 10? He said, my heart's prayer and desire for Israel, for those who are Hebrew Israelites who are not saved yet, Paul said, my heart's prayer and my desire for my brethren is that they might be saved. So my question to you is, when you look at these Hebrew Israelite brothers that are radical for their faith, is your desire to separate from them? Is it to castigate them? Is it to demonize them? Or is it that they might be saved? That's my heart's desire because that is the scripture's desire. As a matter of fact, the scripture desire is that everybody might be saved. All right? Including Hebrew Israelites. Let's get it. Let's get it in today, guys. We're going somewhere. God, I pray that you stick around and get this lesson today because it is going to be dynamic. I pray that you get it. So, knowledge, as we said last week, impacts the believer's spiritual growth. And then we looked at this fact, guys. We looked at the fact that understanding the Messiah's identity, it anchors a believer's faith, number one. And then number two, it leads to maturity and transformation. Yes, knowledge of who the Messiah really is according to the scriptures. Not what your pastor has taught you, but according to the scriptures. Not even what I'm saying, but according to the scriptures is going to anchor you in your faith, and then it's going to mature you and transform you. Somebody asked me last week, how do you know so much about the scriptures? And I mean, honestly, I felt like, man, I don't really, in my mind, I don't really know a lot. Now, some of you know this saying, this age-old saying that the more you learn that you learn what you don't know. Right? I feel like that. I feel like whatever I know, I don't know enough. And so I want you to know, though, that your understanding of the Messiah's identity is a key to your faith. Some people have a problem with trusting and taking that leap of faith and walking by faith and not by sight. You know why? One of the reasons is because of their understanding, or I should say misunderstanding, who the Messiah is. Secondly, some people are stuck. You're stagnant in your faith. That you don't feel you're maturing. You feel like, man, 10 years ago, I'm in the same. And we all know some people that we talk to them every now and then, and it seems like they're just stagnant in their faith. Well, that's not the time to condemn them or show them how much we know, but that's the time to understand that they may need to understand the Messiah's identity, or they may have a misunderstanding. And so we looked at these scriptures down here for believers. We looked at 2 Peter 1 and 3, 3 and 18, and then we looked at 1 John 5 and 20. Then we looked at John 17 and 3. And then for unbelievers, one of the reasons why they don't have faith and they're not mature and they haven't seen any transformative things happen in their life is because of their misunderstanding of who the Messiah is. Now, whether you're an agnostic, you're like, I don't know. I just, who knows? Or whether you're an atheist who has, the pride. Now, the agnostic would say to the atheist, you're being prideful and arrogant because you just automatically know that there's no God. All right. But for the unbeliever, one of the reasons why they lack a spiritual maturity and transformation in their life, if you want that, you got to understand who the Messiah is. Listen, we're not telling you to agree with it. We're just saying try to understand it first. And so if you understand it, though, you will come to the conclusion that he is what Peter said, the Messiah, the Mashiach, the Son of God. And we looked at 2 Corinthians 4, 3-4, Ephesians 4:18, and then John 12:37-40. Guys, go ahead and take a picture of that, take those notes, write that down, or just come back to this series at a later date. But we got to move on. All right. Now, Mark's proof of the Messiah. What we're going to do is look at a chapter by chapter list from the Gospel of Mark, highlighting passages that reference or quote the Tanakh. That's where we get our understanding. That's where Peter got his understanding. To prove that Yeshua, here it is, guys, that Yeshua is divine and not human in origin, period, and point blank. Believers in Messiah, especially those with a Torah-based faith, recognize, now here's the thing, guys, we have to recognize that Satan's primary role as the adversary is to confuse, deceive, and distort, or as the scripture says, to steal, kill, and destroy the truth, particularly regarding Yeshua's identity and his divine nature. If Satan can get you to be confused and be deceived and distort his identity, then he knows that you're never going to walk by faith. You're never going to trust him. You're never going to accomplish the purposes for why Yeshua put you here in the first place. And so because Satan knows that, he's going to, watch this, he's going to attack. His strategy is going to be to attack your understanding of who the Messiah really is. And so this strategy aligns with his efforts to make people misunderstand, reject divine truth, which he employs using various fallacies. Now, guys, please write this word down, fallacies, because this is what Satan uses to cloud the perception of the biblical identity of the Messiah. He's going to use fallacies. Now, what are fallacies? Well, let me give you an example of a fallacy. Go with me to 2 Corinthians chapter 11:3. Go with me to 2 Corinthians. Now I got to stop sharing and then reshare. I'm gonna get this. Hold on. So this is 2. Give me a second. Okay. So that's 2. So if I go here and click on, let me see. So if I go here and then click on that, you should be able to see my scriptures. So go with me to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. Now, again, what we're showing is how Satan employs fallacies to stop you from understanding who the Messiah is. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. You can read verses 1 and 2 on your own, but watch this. Verse 3 says, but I fear, Paul says this, I fear lest by any means, as the serpent, he says, just like the serpent beguiled or deceived and distorted and distracted Eve through his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in, watch this, the Mashiach, understanding who the Mashiach is. All right, so you see his tactic? Paul's explanation in 2 Corinthians 11 is that Satan, watch this, guys, Satan uses red herrings. Come on and go with me, y'all. Please write that down. Let me see if I can put that in the chat. Satan uses, where do you think all these deceptions? Red herrings. Oh, yes. Satan uses red herrings. Because watch this. He says it in the verse. He says it that, hold on. He says it here in verse 3. He beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so that your mind should be, watch this, corrupted. Beguiled, the key words here are beguiled and corrupted, which boils down to deceptive tactics. And using fallacies are an example of deceptive tactics, especially when he uses the tactic of a red herring. Now, what is a red herring? I'm glad you asked. Paul warns that the Corinthian churches, he warns the Corinthian churches about the subtlety of Satan's deceptions, which distract, and distort the gospel message. The red herring fallacy is where Satan diverts and shifts and obscures a believer's mind from the true message. In other words, he takes you off the track of truth as it relates to the true identity of Yeshua. Come on and go with me. Now, there's one other thing that the enemy does. And it's found in John chapter 8, the Gospel of John. God, I have to show you this. Before we go into these scriptures, I have to show you this. John chapter 8. Please remember that what I'm talking about here, because I'm going to come back to these fallacies that are being used to distract and distort from the truth of the identity of the Mashiach. John 8 and 44. Now, this is one of my favorite passages, chapters in the scriptures. John chapter 8. Man, I recommend that you read all the way from verse 1 all the way through this entire chapter. Let's go to verse 44, though. But watch what he says. This is Yeshua describing the Pharisees and the scribes. He says, you are of, it's a key word here, of. That means you come from, your origins. Your daddy is not mine, Yeshua said. He says, you are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. Watch this. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. Watch this. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. See, this is the problem, guys. When you don't use the scriptures to respond, you are speaking of your own and out of your own mind and out of your own heart. This is a problem. Because you remember what our prophet said about the heart, that it's above all, it is deceitful and it is wicked. Okay? So you can't come to me trying to convince me of something, telling me how you feel about it. Well, I feel, no. No. Watch this. Because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. Watch this. This is why. For he is a liar. But not just a liar, he's the father of it. So watch this. A liar is going to cause you to be misled. That's what, when we lie, that's what we're intending to do. We're intending to mislead people away from the truth. Okay? And so watch this. Yeshua's he's directly identifying Satan as the father of lies, who not only deceives, but also causes people to believe falsehoods. Satan uses, watch this, here's the fallacy that he uses. He uses the begging the question fallacy. Now, I've given you two fallacies so far. I've given you the red herring, and I've given you begging the question. Now, begging the question fallacy. This is a good one. It causes the believer to question, to be unsure of the nature of who the Mashiach is. Satan lies about Yeshua's identity. Watch this, guys. Satan's lies about the identity of Yeshua. That is the core fallacy that he's going for. Listen, if he can get you to question who Yeshua is, everything else, he's got you. He's got you. All right. So, guys, we're gonna jump right. I could go deeper into this idea of Satan and his fallacies, but guys, we're gonna jump right into the lesson, guys. And I'm going to share with you. This is going to be powerful, guys. I've organized it for you. You guys see this organization here? So we have our first passage. We talked about this last week. We have our first passage in Mark 1 through 3. Let's go there. Let's go to Mark chapter 1. And we're going to look at verse. So Mark chapter 1. Again, we're going to go chapter by chapter. And we're going to watch this. We're going to look at the statements that Mark is recording. And we're going to find out where those statements come from. Okay, remember we said we have to have a Torah-based understanding. We have to have an understanding that goes back to the Tanakh. By the way, the individuals who practice Judaism, they have given us, guys, listen, they have succumbed. Now, this is not a racial statement. This is not a religious statement. It's just a statement of fact, of biblical fact. The individuals who practice every form of Judaism, guys, they have misled us about what the Tanakh really teaches about who the Mashiach really is. Come on and go with me here. They've misled us. We've trusted the rabbis and they've misled us. All right. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you. Let's go to Mark 1 and 1 through 3. Are you guys with me? Now, I also want you to write down Isaiah 40 and verse 3, because it is coupled with Mark. And you're going to see in verse 3 where this comes from. Mark 1, chapter 1, verse 1 says, at the beginning of the gospel of Yeshua Mashiach, the Son of God. Watch this, verse 2. As it is written in the prophets. He starts off telling us right off the bat. Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. Verse 3, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord. Make his path straight. Now, who was Mark referring to right here? Who's he referring to? Whose path is he making straight? Well, verse 1 tells us in the immediate context, Yeshua HaMashiach, the Son of God. And then if we go down a little bit further, look at this. And it came to pass in verse 9, and it came to pass in the days that who? Yeshua came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized of John in the Jordan. And straightway cometh up out of the water, he saw the heavens open and the Spirit of the Lord like a dove descending. It was like a dove descending upon him. And there came a voice from heaven saying, thou art my beloved Son, whom I am well pleased. So who is he referring to here? Whose way is he referring to that he's preparing? Yeshua. Now watch this. I want you to notice verses 2 and 3. As it is written. Where? as is written rare in the prophets. Well, what prophet? What prophet said this? Well, Isaiah 40. Let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah 40. Now, this is real Bible study, guys. I'm telling you right here. This is real Bible study. Now, watch this. Isaiah 43. Watch what it says. The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for who? Oh my goodness. Can I share something with you? This word, this word in the English, God. Watch this, y'all. In the Hebrew, it is the word Elohim, Eloheinu. The reason why it's Eloheinu is because he says our God. Okay. Now, if it was just God for God, it would be, okay, Elohim. But because it's our God, he says, it is the Hebrew word Eloheinu. Okay. Now, what we have to understand is that this prophecy is being fulfilled on two levels. The first level is fulfilling the prophecy that there will be one coming in the wilderness, preparing the way for the Mashiach. Okay? But notice what it says here. And he's preparing the way, make straight the way for not just Yeshua, but the Messiah, who is what? Who is considered God. Now, here's the fallacy. Here's the argument against this fact. Here's the counter argument. Well, oh, I forgot to say this. I forgot to mention this. This is probably the most important part than our God, than Eloheinu. Notice what he says here. Prepare you the way for who? Prepare you the way of, you see this word Lord here? I forgot to mention this. How could I forget that? That's the crux of, watch this. When he says, prepare ye the way of the Lord, I want you to notice up here. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Now, I learned something very interesting last night. I learned it very interesting. Very simple too, but it was interesting. This word, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, is in the third person. Watch this. So this Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, watch this. It is talking about the existing one. It's the self-existing one. It is the proper name of the one true God. Now, where do we know the proper name of the one true God? Well, you go back to Exodus chapter 3. I learned this from our brother Sidney. Brother Sidney, thank you for clearing this up. Man, thank you, brother Sidney. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. Now, if you notice up here in verse 13, Moses is saying here, and Moses said unto God, behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, the God of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say unto me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them? Moses is asking Yah. Now watch this. And Yah said unto Moses, notice what he says here. This is my name. I am. Now, what does I am mean? It's the same thing as Eloheinu or Elohim. Watch this. Watch this, y'all. This is powerful. Ehye. Ehye. Now, some people say this is Ahaya. Let me say this, guys. I'm not going to quibble over markings and vowel points. The scriptures teach that this is his name. Now, watch this, though. Here's the grammar. I love the grammar. It's in the singular. It's in the first person, singular. Guys, this is a key. It's in the first person. Whenever Yah refers to himself, he uses the first person. No one refers to themselves in the third person. Come on and go with me here. All the other references to Elohim are in the third person. It's the same word. Come on and go with me, y'all. It's the same word that we're highlighting here. Ehye. Ehye. It's the same word, but it's just in the third person. Elohim is in the third person. Ehye is in the first. It's the same exact word. So watch this. Why am I saying all this? Why am I saying all this, Pastor Benz? Because we said that Ehye is the one and true God. Now watch this. This is where we get them. The voice of one in the wilderness, preparing the way of Ehye. Come on and go with me here. But this is in the third person. Why? Because Isaiah is referring to him in the third person. This is not Yah talking about himself. This is Isaiah talking about him. It's in the third person. Now watch this. This is good. Oh, this is good. So when we get to Mark, and it says, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his path straight. Who is Mark referring to? Here, he's referring to Yeshua, who is, come on and go with me here, the most high God. You can't refute that, not even if you try. Now, if you try and say that, well, you know, in Isaiah 4:40-3, it's not really Yahweh. It is, it's just Yahweh in a human figure. Well, again, that's a fallacy, guys. And it is the fallacy of a false dichotomy. Please write that down. It's a false dichotomy. Now, why would someone try to make a distinction, an attempt to separate the one and true Yah from Yeshua? Why do you try to separate him and say, oh, they don't have the same nature? When we read over and over again where Yeshua says, me and the Father are one. Now, some people will say, well, they're one in purpose and da-da-da. Listen carefully. In this text, we see the prophecy in Isaiah 40:3, referring to our God Eloheinu, who is the self-existent one in Exodus 3:14. Ehye. Watch this. When people try to separate Yeshua from the true and living Yah, they're using a false dichotomy fallacy. It's a lie. It comes from the enemy. This fallacy presents two opposing options Like those are the only two options. He can either be Yeshua or there's only one true God. No, no, you can't limit the options because the biblical option is that Yeshua is God. Come on and go with me here. Now, every fallacy, the enemy is trying to invoke or promote a feeling or an emotion. Oh my goodness, come on and go with me here, y'all. Every fallacy is trying to produce an emotion. Now, what emotion does a false dichotomy attempt to present? Fear, urgency. I've got to make this decision between Yeshua and God. No, 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 no. Don't be anxious. Be anxious for nothing. Come on, go with me here. Oh, we're going to get it in. Why would the enemy want to use a false dichotomy to cause fear in you over the true identity of Yeshua? Because he wants to manipulate your choices. My goodness. If he can manipulate your choices to turn your back on the one and true and living Yah, he can get you to be disobedient to the Torah easily because he's manipulating your understanding of who Yeshua is by lowering your understanding that he is the Most High Yah. Oh my goodness. Come on and go with me. That's only one. I've only given you one. Are you ready for the next one? Let's go. And look, we've only been going an hour. This is okay. Let's get the next one in. Let's get the next one. Chapter 2. Are we in chapter 2? Chapter 2. Let's go to Mark chapter 2 and then look at verse 7. Mark 2. That's Matthew. Mark 2. And we're going to go to verse 7. Now, this is a powerful one. Again, we're going to go chapter by chapter. Mark 2 and verse 7. Watch this. What does this man thus speak? Why does this man speak blasphemy? Who can forgive sin but who? But God only. Who are these Pharisees? Now you got to understand who's speaking here. If you go back to verse 1, chapter 2, verse 1, and you read all the way down, you'll see that Yeshua is in a conversation with individuals called the scribes. Okay? Now you got to understand who the scribes were in their day. The scribes were the masters and the copyists of the records in the Tanakh. And the scribes had a unique job. They had to memorize. They had to memorize the entire Tanakh. All right? And so watch this. So when Yeshua says in verse 5, when Yeshua saw their faith, he said unto the sick of the palsy, son, thy sins be forgiven. Now, why would the scribes, in verse 6, notice this, guys, but there were certain of the scribes sitting there and reasoning there. Why were they reasoning in their hearts? What were they thinking about? What were they contemplating? Well, they were contemplating all the verses in the Tanakh that talked about God being the only one that is able to forgive. Come on and go with me. And this is why in verse 7, they asked this question. They had to speak. Why did this man, who? Yeshua. Why does Yeshua speaks blasphemies? Why is he trying to stand in the place of the Most High? This is what their question is speaking to. Then they ask this question: who can forgive sin but the Most High? Now watch this. Let's go to Psalm. I believe this is one of the passages that they were contemplating in their hearts about. Psalm 103. Psalm 103. Watch this. A psalm of David. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy, wonderful song. Verse 2, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. And here it is in verse 3. Who is it that we're blessing? Yud He Vav He. Whenever you see in the English, this uppercase Lord is referring to Yud He Vav He. That is the self-existing one. Just think about this. It's the same one in Exodus 3 and 14. The same one. He says, forgiveth all thine iniquities. This Yud He Vav He, this Lord, this Ehihe, is they're asking a question, but they're making a statement. Who forgiveth all iniquities, and then healeth all my diseases. They're saying that this same one, this Most High Yah, is the same individual who spoke in Mark 2, verses 5, and says this, thy sins be forgiven. Who's able to forgive sin but the Most High? You mean Yeshua is not only standing in the place of the Most High, but he is doing things that only the Most High can do. And his ability to do those things comes from his divine nature. Come on and go with me here. He didn't in verse 5 say, wait a minute, son who has the palsy, hold on. Let me go pray to my father and ask him to heal you. No. He didn't do that. He did it himself. Why was he able to forgive the sin himself? Because Yeshua was demonstrating the authority and the power that only the Most High Yah possessed. And this is why the scribe says, this man is speaking blasphemy. Oh my goodness. You see that, y'all? You see that? Now, this is very interesting. Who could speak against this? Now, let me say this. The very words in verse 7 that the scribes say he was speaking blasphemy. Can I tell you what kind of fallacy that is? What the scribes were doing, they were creating a false dilemma. Write that down, y'all. A false dilemma fallacy. You can look it up. A false dilemma fallacy. Because they were putting Yeshua in a dilemma that he could not do. It's a false dilemma. No. What they were saying is that only God can forgive sin. So listen to their reasoning, because it says in verse 6, they begin reasoning in their heart. They begin to go over all the fallacies. What's an argument we can come up against this? Oh, so Jesus claiming this authority is blasphemous because only God can forgive sin. They created a false dilemma. A false dilemma assumes that something cannot be. To prove, here's the key, to prove that it is so. Oh my gosh. I hope some of y'all are getting this. Some of y'all are getting this. If you're not getting it, guys, go back over this. This is high treason and tactics when it comes to the enemy trying to distort and distract from the identity of Yeshua. It's a false dilemma that the scribes create. They're saying And again, it's an assumption that something cannot be done to prove that it's not. Oh my gosh. False dilemma. But watch this. The proof was in the pudding because the man with the palsy, oh my. If you read on, look what Yeshua says in verse 9. Whether it is easier to say to the sick of the palsy, thy sins be forgiven, or say, arise and take up thy bed and walk, which is exactly what they could not deny that this man did. That this man got up and walked, showing the authority that Yeshua possesses as the Messiah, who is not just a prophet, who is not just a good man, who is not just a great teacher, but he is God Almighty. My goodness. Y'all ready for verse 3? What time is it? Oh, we're doing good. We're doing good. I'm gonna give you guys one more, maybe two more. Let's go to chapter 3. Chapter 3. We're going to go to chapter 3, and we're going to go in, y'all, because we're doing every single chapter. Chapter 3. Let's go to chapter 3, and we're going to look at verse 27. So, Mark chapter 3. You know, all I got to do is go here. Why am I doing that? Mark chapter 3, and we're going to go to verse 27. So, are you guys coupling those scriptures? So, we had Mark in chapter 1. We have Mark chapter 1, 1 through 3, going back to Isaiah 40 and 3. And then we had in chapter 2, Mark chapter 2, 5, 6, and 7, going back to Psalm 103. Okay, Psalm 103, verses 1 through 3. Now we have our third one is Mark 3, chapter 3, and verse 27. Okay. Watch this. So again, I pray that you guys read the entire chapter in context. So let's start a little bit. Let's start in verse 23. And he called them unto him and said unto them in a parable, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. If Satan rises up against himself and divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. Verse 27, here it is. Watch what Yeshua says. No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods except he will first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. And if you continue to read, and you go all the way down, but let's go back to this verse here, 27. Because what Yeshua is claiming here, again, if you read the entire chapter, what Yeshua is claiming, the reason why he gave this parable is because Yeshua is claiming to be the strong man. Come on and go with me here. He's claiming to be the strong man. Read the entire chapter. Yeshua is claiming to be the strong man. And it's not just a claim. We're going to show and prove that he is. Now, where is Yeshua getting this idea or imagery from? He's not just thinking it up out of thin air. Where is he getting it from? Again, guys, he's getting it from the Tanakh. Well, where is he getting it from? Write this verse down. Isaiah 49 and verse 24. Isaiah 49 and verse 24. You guys writing these down? So we're going to look at verse 24 and 25. Now, you got to understand that Yeshua knew the entire Tanakh by heart. As a matter of fact, he was the walking Torah. Come on and go with me here. Verse 24. Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith, again, here it is, the Most High, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him. Who will contend with him? The Most High, that contendeth with me, and I will save thy children. So wait a minute. How does this apply to this strong man analogy that he gives here? Well, just as in Isaiah 49, this strong man is the Lord himself, saying that I contend with those who contend with me. I am the strong man. No one can contend with me over my children. Watch this. So how is Yeshua claiming to be the same strong man in this text by saying that when we're saved, no one can take us out of his hands? No one. How is Yeshua able to say that? How's he able to even think of saying that? So watch this. Let's go back to verse 20 in Mark 3. And the multitude came together again, so that they could not so much as eat bread. And when his friends heard of it, they went out to lay hand on him, for they said, he is beside himself. And the scribes which came down from Jerusalem said, he hath Beelzebub, and by the prince of devils, watch this, he casteth out devils. And he called unto them, or unto him, and said unto them in a parable, how can Satan cast out Satan? He says, I'm the strong man. I'm not doing this by the power. Want to go with me? I'm not doing this by the power of Satan. I'm doing this by the power of the Most High. My goodness. And we read in Isaiah 49, can the prey be taken? And then the Most High says, I will contend with those who contend with me. In other words, I am contending with Satan. Getting this idea from Isaiah 49. The Most High is saying this. So how can Yeshua and the Most High say and do the exact same things? Now, there are going to be some who use a fallacy. And they're going to say this, guys. Well, in Mark, Yeshua was just using this metaphorically. Remember, it's a parable. It's not really literal, but it's just a parable. It's a metaphorical. It doesn't prove that Yeshua has divine power to cast out the devil like the Most High does. Now, can I tell you what kind of fallacy that is? Write down straw man. Write down straw man, y'all. It's a straw man because what people that say that are trying to do is that they're trying to use, watch this, the weakest part of the argument. Come on and go with me. A straw man uses the weakest part of the argument to attempt to prove their point. Well, what is the weakest part of the argument? That he used a parable. But they ignore the fact. Come on and go with me here. They ignore the fact that within this parable, Yeshua is showing and demonstrating the power and the authority of the Most High. They don't want to deal with that, so they use the weakest part of the argument. Have people ever done that to you? Oh, I'm sure they do. They do it, as a matter of fact, they do it all the time. And see, this is the problem, guys, that people have with me. Because I've been trained by Yah to recognize fallacies when people speak, and I call them on it. They say, you're so argumentative. Oh, no, I'm just catching you in your lies. I'm catching you misrepresenting arguments and not paying attention to one and focusing on something to prove your point while I'm 2 and 3 steps ahead of you. And this is why people will be upset with you. And this is why. And I'm learning this, guys. Pray with me. I gotta be patient with people. I gotta be patient with you because I can see and hear your fallacies a mile away. Guys, if you learn, what did Paul say? Don't be ignorant of Satan's devices. If you learn these devices that Paul encourages us to learn, come on and go with me here, then the enemy cannot disrupt, distract, distort, or confuse you when it comes to who Yeshua HaMashiach is. We got time for one more. One more. Oh, this is a good one too. Oh, this is a good one. I said that was a straw man, right? Yeah. Can I go back just one? I didn't mention this, that the emotion, remember I told you that every fallacy is trying to appeal to an emotion? Let me say this, the emotion that the enemy is appealing to when he uses the straw man by going to the weakest part of the argument is they're trying to misdirect you. Come on and go with me here. And this is how they misdirect. They distort the claim. They distort what you're saying by focusing all of the attention on the weakest part or the smallest part, the most insignificant part. They will argue that because it distorts and deceives and creates a false narrative when we're not even dealing with one issue over here, but they bring in and they focus on this small issue to make that, come on and go with me here, the main thing when they're distorting the argument. And what they're doing, guys, is they're just trying to misdirect you. People do it all the time. They change the subject. We're not even talking about that. It's not really about the parable itself. It's about what's in the parable. That's paramount. Forgot to tell you that. Let's go to the last one in chapter 4. Chapter 4. So let's see. We got 4 men. So there's 15 chapters. So we got about 3 weeks of this. 3 more weeks. 3 more weeks worth. All right. And I think, maybe 2. Because we got 4 in and we got 30 minutes left. But we may need 2 more weeks of this. 2 more weeks. Let's go to chapter 4. Chapter 4, because I'm not going to have to do all this explaining that I did in this particular lesson if you're following along. All right, chapter 4. And let's go to verse 38 in chapter 4. Mark 4, and verse 38. This is the last one. Let's see. Let's go to verse 35. Verse 35. Mark 4, verse 35. The focus is going to be verse 38. And the same day when the even was come, he said unto him, let us pass over unto the other side. Okay, this is Yeshua speaking. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. The multitude, let me read that again. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship, and there were also with him other little ships. And there arose a great storm. You guys remember this? And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship so that it was now full. They're sinking. The wind and the waves are beating into the ship. The waves are in the ship, and the water is just overflowing into the ship, and the ship is now full. And he was in the hinder, in the back part of the ship, asleep, while the winds and the waves on a pillow. Man, he remembered to bring a pillow. Watch this. And they awake him and say to him, Master, carest not that we're dying, that we perish? Look at this. Verse 39. And he arose and he rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. My goodness, who has the power to do that? Well, we know the answer, but we're going to prove it using the Tanakh. Let's go to Psalm 107. I pray you guys are taking notes. I pray that you guys are writing these things down. 107. And we're going to go to verse 28. So Psalm 107 and verse 28. Then they cry unto the who? Unto who? There we go. The Most High in their trouble, and he bringeth them out of their distresses. Watch this. He maketh the storm calm. Come on and go with me here. He maketh the storm calm so that the what? The waves are still. Who's doing this? The Most High. Well, if the Most High is doing this, how is Yeshua? I'm in 38, sorry. How is Yeshua in verse 39 able to do this? He rebuked the wind, and he saith unto the sea, Peace, be still. Guys, if anyone attempts to tell you that Yeshua, the Mashiach, that our Mashiach is not God, you got to contend with this. How is he able to do the same exact things that the Most High is able to do? Unless the Mashiach is divine himself. Now, there are going to be people who attempt to make you seem crazy by saying that Jesus is God. And they're going to use fallacies. One of the main fallacies they're going to use in this one, can I share with you? They're going to say this. Jesus was just claiming he was just claiming that the storm reflects his authority, but it doesn't mean he's divine. You know what they just did? You know what fallacy that is, guys? Please write this down. It is a hasty generalization. Come on and go with me here. And in this particular hasty generalization, if someone says this, what they're doing is they're dismissing the divine nature of Yeshua, and they don't even consider that there's other passages, that there's other information that proves them wrong. They're rushing to a hasty generalization. I'm going to go with me here. In other words, they're drawing hasty generalizations. When people use hasty generalizations, they are drawing conclusions with insufficient evidence. I want to go with me here. That's just like saying, all black men are dogs. Hold on, dog. Hold up. That's just like saying all black women are loud. Whoa, wait a minute. You don't have sufficient information about all women, particularly so-called black women. You are making a hasty generalization. Are y'all with me? Now, why would someone use this against Yeshua? Why would they draw a conclusion? And guys, let me say this. This is at the heart of every theological, biblical, false teaching, whether intentional or unintentional. We make hasty generalizations. In other words, we don't consider all the text surrounding the issue we're studying. As a matter of fact, this is a great study technique. If you're going to make a conclusion about a topic in Scripture, you best be sure that you're taking into consideration all the information concerning that topic. And this is what we usually say about people who make these hasty generalizations. They're being biased or prejudiced. Oh, come on and go with me here. I see balloons. Who's putting up balloons? What is that? I'm new to this, y'all. What's the balloons mean? Somebody put in the chat what the balloons. Does that mean that the live is over? I don't know. Does that mean end it? Or is that like celebration? What is that? Now watch this. Watch this, y'all. The Most High Yah who calmed the storm in Psalm 107, exercising his authority, guess what? It's the same Most High that did it in the boat when Yeshua was asleep. Yeshua himself stood up. What did the text say? He arose and rebuked the wind. He didn't say, Father, handle this wind for me. Calm the waves for me. No. He didn't pray to the Father and say, Lord, take this bitter cup from me. Come on and go with me here. He said, I can handle this myself. Why? Because I am he. He rebuked the wind and said, peace, be still. Just as the Most High did in Psalm 107. Come on and go with me, y'all. I'm simply trying to tell you that when it comes to Yeshua HaMashiach, in the book of Mark, the first 4 chapters are clearly outlining several facts, but one important fact that cannot be denied is that Yeshua HaMashiach is not only divine, but he is the God of heaven and earth. And besides him, there is no other. Listen, I haven't said nothing about the Trinity. We're not talking Trinity over here because I know the philosophy from which the Trinity comes from. Now, all you Trinitarians out there, What you need to do is repent and say, we don't need this word to describe what's in the Tanakh. And the reason why I'm going to the Tanakh is for several reasons. I'm showing you that the Tanakh has the same view of Yeshua HaMashiach that they have of the Most High Yah. That's what I'm showing. And secondly, I'm showing you that those who practice Judaism, they lied to us, and they are lying when they say that the Mashiach is not divine. And to the Muslims, we have the Enlil. Oh, come on and go with me here. And the Enlil says that Yeshua is a far better God. Come on and go with me. Than simply looking at Muhammad. Can Muhammad forgive sin? Listen, if you're Muslim and you're listening, you got to admit, no, he can't. No, he can't. Can Muhammad calm the waves and the sea? No, he can't. So you cannot label Yeshua as simply being a prophet like Muhammad. I'm going in. I'm going in. I got more. Listen, y'all, I got more, and we're not stopping. We're not stopping until we show and prove in the entire book of Mark, chapter by chapter, that Yeshua HaMashiach is God Almighty. Questions, comments? Guys, questions, please, questions. Is there anything that was misunderstood? Is there anything that I need to clarify? If not, on Tuesday, we're going to start in Mark chapter 5, and hopefully we can go to chapter 10. And then by next Shabbat, we'll go from chapter 11 to 15. Questions, comments? Blessings. Guys, go ahead and put in the chat. Thumb up the video, share the live, guys. Put in the chat, guys, where you are listening from. I cannot tell. I know that we got some people listening from Oklahoma. We have people listening from Modesto. I know we're in Patterson, California. Where are you from? Where are you from if you're listening, guys? Just to give us an idea of where you're from. Put it in the chat, guys. If there are no questions, no comments, guys, Shabbat Shalom. Praise Yah. Guys, I pray that at the end of this series, yeah, we got Callie in the house. Yes, we do. I pray that at the end of this series, you guys, I pray that you will have the ability to do what 1 Peter 3:15 says, which is always be ready to give an answer for the hope that is within thee, with meekness and with humility. I pray. Guys, what we're doing is I'm giving you ammunition. I'm giving you Nashville, Tennessee is in the house. My brother, blessings to you. Blessings. I pray, guys, that you will burn these scriptures into your mind and that you will be able to use these scriptures to simply ask a question. If you don't feel comfortable just proclaiming this truth, listen, use these scriptures to just ask the questions. Hey, can you explain what does Mark mean when he says this? And then he's quoting from this Tanakh passage. What does this Tanakh passage mean? And then, guys, use your knowledge of Exodus, which our brother, I am so grateful. Brother Sidney, thank you for helping me to understand. It was like the missing piece to the puzzle. And it was simple as knowing the difference between first person and third person. Just that simple. The light went on, just like that. So use those scriptures in Exodus 3:14, where Yeshua in the first person says who he is, and then every place else where the word Lord in capitals are used is used in the third person. because it's someone else speaking about the Most High. All right. Well, blessings to you and your family too, guys. We are out of here. We are grateful, thankful that you decided to join us at Beit Emunat, Torah, House of Torah Faith. Guys, blessings and Shabbat Shalom.